Well, hello, Seven Blue. How are you? It is Tuesday. L105 consumer interest. Look, this is not going to be as interesting as the compound interest. In fact, we only have one kind of big problem to do, and then I'm going to task you with grouping up and answering another problem for me. So consumer interest comes up in a couple places. I mean, the reason why this isn't as interesting is because this is about us paying money, not receiving money based upon some sort of investment, right? This is more when we have to pay out. So a few terms we should talk about. One that involves consumer interest. One is something called mortgage. You may have heard your parents talking about this, possibly. Mortgages involve houses or buying a home. And basically, your parents are probably may one day or have bought into like a 30-year mortgage. You can refi your mortgage, but it comes at a certain percent. So that basically banks loan you money to buy a house, right? Most people don't have that kind of money nowadays in cash. So you borrow money from the bank. They charge you a certain interest, let's say like 7%, and you have to pay that every month. And, it ends up that you're paying much more than the listing price of the house. Let's say in some crazy city, the listing price is $300,000. Well, after you pay off all of your mortgage, you pay like double that, like $700,000, right? So, look, it's just how it works, Another thing that you might get into in one point in your life is buying a car. I know I bought a car, and I'm not necessarily talking about like a used car or something you got from a friend. We're usually going into the real deal Holyfield car dealership. And most people, again, cars being 20,000 up, they don't carry around that kind of cash, and they don't want to put out that kind of cash. So what they'll do is they'll borrow from a bank, and that bank will loan them money at a certain percentage. This is where you often hear APR, like if you listen to car commercials to talk about APR financing. APR stands for annual percentage rate. It just comes down to the rate that they're charging you. And essentially, if it's a true list price of $20,000, after you're done paying the mortgage, not the mortgage, but paying that car down, you will have paid much more, $30,000, $35,000, something like that. But the thing is, you pay it in installments. And it's just kind of how the world works. Another thing that you're likely to get into, but I hope you do it when you're in a smart place, is credit cards. And here's the thing about credit cards, and just quick. The day I stepped onto a college campus, I was just 18 years old, and on my college quad there were tables, and they literally handed me a Visa card, and it was power. But I misused that power, friends, and I have never been able to kind of get out of that, like bad credit since then. Look, don't get a credit card until you really need one, and always be smart. And what would be smart? Always pay in full each month. It's great to get a credit card. It can really establish your credit rating and allow you to buy cars and allow you to buy houses. But the most important thing is if you spent $40 that month, don't pay the min. Don't pay the minimum monthly payment. Pay off that $40. Because if you do that, then you can usually get out of interest. So if you pay in full each month, then they won't charge you interest. And that's the only way to use credit cards. Treat them like debit cards. Don't ever charge something that you can't pay off, right? In fact, certain credit cards demand it. Something like American Express. Every single month you got to pay the full. And that's why I don't have an American Express. All right, let's move on. Here's our big question or the big statement and the three questions. I got to admit, if you read the writing of this, it's not very strong and it gets a little like kind of vaguey and I don't like that. So I'm just telling you how I feel. But Jason has a credit card balance of $1,200. He's racked up $1,200. And he's probably someone who's paying them in, and he's just getting more and more in debt. The credit card charges him 2% interest on the unpaid balance each month. So the first question is, what is the interest charge on his current balance? Well, if it's unpaid, and the interest charge is $1,200, well, they know they charge 2%, so I'm going to take that $1,200 and then I'll multiply it. And again, most people will turn this into a decimal. I'm actually just going to keep this as a non-reduced fraction because I see that nice cross-canceling opportunity. So I'll say 2 over 100 because the same thing is 0.02, right? Then I get to cancel, and then I just got 12 times 2, which I know is $24. Would it have been the same if I multiplied it by 0.02? Oh, if you have to ask this question, I don't know what's going on. Yes, of course it would be the same. It just seemed a little bit more efficient. Let's look at the second question. So if Jason, like I did in college and failed financially, if he only makes the minimum monthly payment of $50, and that's what they'll do, you could rack up $5,000 you owe them. And they'll be like, oh, no, you only have to pay $49 this month. And as a kid, I was like, yeah. But what happened is I, at one point, racked it up so much, so I extended my credit, or I couldn't extend my credit. And that's the whole thing. Don't pay them in. Pay it all if you can. I know we always can't, sadly. So if he only pays $50, what's his new balance for next month? Well, don't forget, I can't just take the $1,200 and minus by 24, because it's not $1,200 anymore. He didn't even buy another thing, but they're going to charge him what? 24 bones. So I have to add that to the original 1,200. So that will be 1,224. He subtracts, he's at 50. And you might go, oh, okay, well, that's good. He's down below his 1,200. Yeah, he's at 1,170. Oh, that's not true. It's 1,176. Right? Hold on. My brain, not always working. Definitely 1,174. And you're like, well, that's better. It's better than 1,200. I know, but he paid $50 and he's losing, like he's dipping in. No minimum monthlies if you don't have to. Okay, let's look at letter C. Let's say he only pays the minimum monthly and he also charges $800 more on this card. And you're like, why would they let him do that? Well, because they want to get you in debt. They want to get you paying into the system. And again, I'm not against credit cards. I'm just up for a good use of those credit cards. And paying down those minimum monthlies is not the best way. Paying it all down as much as you can is your way. So if he charges $800 more, well, that's going to be this $1,174 plus the $800, which we know would be, what do you say? Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get into that, we know we're looking for the balance. So instead of multiplying it by 0.02 and adding, I'm going to do this 1.02 because that's going to work it all for me. So 1174 plus the 800 is going to be 1974 plus the 1.02 because that's going to tell me my balance. I got to work this out over here. You shouldn't have to watch me doing this. Boom, 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 tagging, boom, 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 boop, boop, boop. Is going to be 2,013 and 48. And poor Jason just sinks deeper and deeper and deeper in debt. Hey, let's talk about the other thing you're going to do for me. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 5 practice set questions. They go from A to E. I need you to group up. So there's 18 of us in the class, I believe that's right. There's 5 of these. So you can't have a group that's larger than 4, and your group can't be less than 3. So we're talking 3 to 4. Join a group, connect with each other, and then I want you to choose one of these, A, B, C, D, and E. Now, the first group that chooses, let's say Daniel and David want to be in a group, and they grab Olivia. Well, that's a group of 3, and they're like, we want it, and we're going to choose letter C. They're going to post letter C and their little names, not Olive, Olivia, and DVD, and DND. And once they do that on Google Classroom, they grab letter C. No one else can do letter C. So what are you left with? B, A, B, what's after C? No, okay, D or E. And then maybe someone else jumps in, and Christian's like, well, that's not fair. Why did Olivia get to go? And so Christian says, hey, Annika, will you join me? And Annika's, well, only if Kira could come. And Kira's like, well, I'm only coming if Silas comes along for the ride. So obviously they have a group of 4. They have to stop because there's no more. And so they're like, we're going to go with letter A. And at that point, letter A is gone, people. And then, so other people were worried because the groups are getting chosen. So they start to reach out to their friends. Hey, Olivia, are you in a group? And she's like, yeah, I'm already in a group. Oh, how about Christian? Can you ask him? Yeah, he's already in a group. And so people like Cole, or people like Sophia, or people like Alex, they're like, should we group up? Well, should we grab someone else? And they're like, how about Swoop? She's awesome at stuff. And they're like, yeah, okay, what do we have left? Let's just go with B. I haven't looked at it, but B looks good. Okay, B is gone. And you see how it goes? And you're like, well, why haven't you mentioned me, Mr. Mirror? Well, I mentioned you because you haven't joined a group yet, but people like Victoria or Alejandra or Massimo or Luke, yeah, you guys got to join a group too. So you're going to join a group, and then you're going to tell me what letter in Google Classroom. Whoever posts that letter first gets it. No one else can choose that letter. And there's big, big prizes in heaven for those who get it right. Okay, bye. Actually, let me go back to this page. Homework 109 plus this little group affair. All right? Take care. Bye. And just to be clear, we are talking about A through E on page 719 in your book. Just to be clear. HW109, but do this group thing right away. Find someone. Find more than someone. Find someone's. Okay, bye.